Welcome, welcome, club members. Jump on in, say hi. How are you? Hopefully you are having a wonderful day so far. I feel the holidays in the air. I don't know about you, but I do. We have guests coming tomorrow, so there's quite a list of house chores
Yes.
that needs to be done.
The honeydew list is real.
It is real. It is real. And with that said, I have seriously enjoyed this kit. So I'm really excited to kind of share with you just some of my creations in hopes that it inspires you in your own creations, whether you get some time this weekend or upcoming week, whatever it is. All I can tell you is that when you need to kind of feel the joy, right? To remember kind of like life is good and take a breather and all of that stuff, then scrapbooking is the way to go because it really does bring so much joy. So I will say, so this kit for November, well, one, the PDF was full of ideas. So just kind of wrapping up November, right? We went from the Tip Tuesday or, with the quick tips with Mary and just kind of revisiting all the many ways that you can literally, I'm going to say, grow a tree, create a tree, grow a tree, because the treehouse template set is so much fun. Now, if you're a Premier Club member, then you also got the Years Are Short paper kit, which just really just a breeze to create with. Maybe I'm biased because I love warm fall colors. Although this kit, I want to be careful, is not a fall kit. I think I scrapbooked one maybe memory of fall. We'll go back to it. Why is my memory short memory? So I have it right in front of me. But there's so many options beyond, of course, just fall. It's really not about fall, but naturally it can be. And you can easily even scrapbook some upcoming gratitude pictures, childhood memories, all of those things that just remind you that the years are short, right? And we want to kind of reflect on those and embrace them. Really quickly too, I'll show you, I have all this paper left. So I loved this pattern. So I'm definitely going to be making another pattern with this. And I have these scraps left over for some layers. And so I don't know if I'm going to do a 1-pager yet or a 2-pager. I even have a few of the title cards, which I loved, but naturally we know this when we create the title cards. I know I've shared this before with you guys. Like we don't plan on you guys using them all. We know that we don't get to use them all per se, but sometimes I'll use the back even. If I have a need for the back, the color on the back, I'll use it. But with that said, I definitely love this title. So I think that's the page that I'm going to shoot for with the scraps of paper to use that one. Gosh, I loved them all. But it does tear you a little bit not to use them all, right? And maybe some of you guys save them, but for me, if I get through the kit and I can use the pattern on the back, even on title cards, sometimes I'll sacrifice them. Okay, so let's take a peek. Let's take a peek at my layouts.
Okay.
Right.
Can we go?
Yes. So this month we focused in, right, on a few featured sets to go along with the kits and the digital idea book, and those featured sets were thank you kit, ovals, any mini borders. It was just like any does the trick, and tweet. So that was really fun. This is the first layout that I created. This was in the Kiwi Club PDF, so you'll see that in the PDF. And I will say that, again, it was super fun. I think for me, what was really kind of fun to play around with and experiment with was these 2x2s clustered inside of the tree. All right. So if that's something hopefully inspires you or you want to give it a try, I will just tell you it was super satisfying. And I don't think that I don't know, it just kind of changed it up. You know what I mean? It just changed it up from some of my other layouts. And then naturally I balanced that with some 2x2s over here on the other side. Because if you're printing the 2x2s, and I know that we have a great video on how to collage your photos in the circle community, which, you know what, Dave, maybe we'll take a little field trip over there.
Spontaneous.
I know. I will have to add it. Hold on. Share screen, window, share. Okay. So underneath photos and video tips, we talked about this a little bit in PJ Playdate, just this section in general. And we actually took those tips out specifically than some of the other, like, also our paper picking method, like anything related that's kind of primary focus on that. Those two are great sources, and they're kind of a repeat, like practice makes perfect even sometimes, to kind of lock things in. Anyways, we talked about the QR code a little bit. So I just wanted to highlight this section again, but also just talking about the 5 ways to use the combine and accessorize all 3 photo sets, because we talked about the photo mats this month in the Picture Perfect event. So that was also a focus, and you can find a great, another great resource of that topic here. And then we also talked about like the Canon selfie. I use that, but either way, that's where collaging your photos maybe into 2x2s. So a lot of great photo resource things that we often repeat and, depend on here at Kiwi Lane often. But okay, so with that said, just know that resource related to photo printing or anything like that you might have questioned, if you get a moment, check out those resources. All right. So I will say also, I was planning to create, right? I had a variety of pictures that I wanted to add, and it was getting up over 6. That's when I chose to take the 1 4x6, 1 4x6, 2 3x4s, and then break out those single pictures into 2x2s. And that was kind of the thought process behind this creation. Ovals, I kind of built this little backdrop here. I do love the shapes of ovals, and it was fun. I really played around with how to layer the mini borders. And I will just say, like, I really enjoyed putting one here on top and then kind of building this little grid for the photos to kind of be positioned in. This is something I did talk about, and I found naturally I did it on a few of these pages this month. Whenever I'm building kind of this across design, for me personally, I always try to pay attention to where it meets. I like the point and the straight edge, if I can, to always kind of meet there. Another thing I noted is that this mini border was poking down behind the ovals, and I chose to just go in and trim it off so that it did not go inside. I wanted that to be clean.
Harry Houdini vanishing
act. Yeah, a little vanishing act here for sure.
Paper crafting magic.
Yep. Also, these little titles came from the paper kit, so that was fun to kind of put on here. Others, titles and labels that we get as we grow and our family and our connections in life. And then I did use a punch down here. This is a border punch I've had for a little bit. It gets a little finicky sometimes. It wants to not behave, and I did it a few times, believe it or not, and you got to look really closely, but it's like a little bit of you see that it's like it trimmed it off. It took the edge off a little bit, but I was like, I think it was late, and I was like, it's good. I'm okay with it looking a little distressed, so to speak. It looks a little distressed, but if you have things like that, of course, Kiwi Lane method, the foundation of it all plays friendly. And then after that, it was just little details, which came from the thank you kit. I can't express enough how awesome the thank you kit is. It's almost like tiny plants in my mind, because it's just so good for little details. It kind of is deceiving because you think the thank you kit, like, it was designed for cards initially, but all templates can be used on cards, layouts, projects, whatever you want. But I will say it really is a perfect for your little details on your pages. And that big thank you, the one that has the print in it, we have a great video over. Let me grab it really fast. I have them all out still. This one, if you're using it on a layout, just don't use the thank you for a doodling like thing. You just use it as a flower. You can also cut this guy out cut it into a swirl and make it a 3D flower. It's a perfect shape for that as well. So I loved the thank you addition to the featured sets because it's really all it needs. These pages, the paper and the structure of the tree house. So it just took a little bit of maybe a little touches here and there. The last thing on this layout I'll point out was that on my tree specifically, I did crimp the edges. So I pulled out my handy dandy 15-year-old crimper.
I'm gonna say, I've seen that around. Before.
Yeah, I did buy a new one recently, a new shape, but that one I've had for years. Or maybe it was the other shaper. I don't know. This tree, I used all the same shapes. Okay. So when you're pulling out the shapes, you kind of have this, I don't know what you call it. Mushroom. Yeah. You have like a mushroom style.
Like a lily pad almost.
Yeah. And then you almost have a bushy version, which can also be translated into an apple or a flower. So you can do an apple or a flower with those shapes too.
Versatile.
Very versatile. But in this case, I chose just to do that lily pad, mushroom, whatever you want to call it. So I really enjoyed this page. I really did. I think it's a great spotlight of the photos, meets that lens of creative expression, meets the warmth of the paper. And other than that, there's no technical, there's nothing else technical here. I did love this paper so much. I was trying to put it in the borders, but then I chose to put it just a 2-inch strip here towards the bottom. And then this heart pattern is such a fun supporting pattern. I found it so useful on a variety of these layouts. So with that said, let's take it to the next layout. All right, so this one I finished in the PJ Playdate. So for those of you that were with us on the PJ Playdate, if not, you can check out the replay. We just had a chance to connect, talk. We chatted quite a bit. I feel like I looked up and I was like, oh, I've been chatting for like an hour. I better start creating, but that's how it goes, right? Anyways, and so this one, again, was just, I decided on this one. I was so inspired by the multicolor trees in the Kiwi Club PDF that I was like, oh, I got to try that. Right. So I pulled in some corrugated paper here. And I will say one of the tips that I had, let me see if I have a full sheet. Well, I still have my scraps that I have right here on my table. One thing I wanted to point out on that, and I mentioned it in the PJ Playdate, but if you're going to pull on some corrugated sheet, of course you're going to want to trace on the back, but I decided to do it at an angle. You see how this is coming at an angle. I didn't do it straight up and straight down. And that's because I noticed when I get up here into these, like the
narrow sort of vertical.
Yeah, the narrow, it would be vertical and it would almost like where the bends, the dents met. I just was like, oh, I don't know. I think that might look weird. So I chose to diagonal mine, twist it, and then lay it on that way. And I think it worked really great.
It looks good.
Yeah.
The corrugated tree is kind of fun.
It is fun. It
reminds me of corduroy too.
Corduroy is back, guys. It's back.
It's back because I was just going to say, it reminds me of a couple pairs of pants I owned when I was a teenager.
I know. It's back. Of course, I put the tree house in the tree this time. So I didn't put photos in my tree. I chose to put a tree in my tree. I put the ladder from our flash sale gather, hopefully as a club member. If you didn't have that one, you took advantage of it. It was a great deal. Again, kind of wrapping up this month. So it was so great to pull from the tips from the PDF. I only had these 4 pictures. So that was pretty easy to work into. Same thing here with these mini borders. I always kind of was, even though I lined Mini Madison up with Mini Scallop, I wanted those edges. So what I did is I actually extended Mini Scallop out. That's why it's so long here. And when I traced it out of my paper, I just measured and extended that because you'll see here, it's not as wide as I did it, but I did that purposely because I wanted that joint to just kind of get a clean, seamless line across the page. again, the heart pattern came into play here. Super cute, very soft, but yet so full of personality. I just really enjoyed that. So hopefully you guys find the same joy out of it. It just kind of supports. It's a great supporter. It did its job. It did its job well.
I like, for whatever it's worth, I like how you went diagonal with the patterns on the borders. So the two minis, is it Madison?
Oh yeah, mini Madison's
across from the top, and then doing the opposite with the heart pattern on the other side. It gives it a kind of like really elegant patchwork kind of feel.
It does have a patchwork feel, and from a creative point of view, I chose to do that because this pattern is one directional, and so I needed an up down. I could have cut it out twice, but for me, I'm like, oh, if I don't need to cut it out twice, I don't want to. And so I was like, you know what? And so I played around with it being sideways again, like my last layout. And I went through all of that in the PJ Playdate. You can really see the design process of this specific layout go from start to finish, because I did that one specifically at that night at that event. And then I said, you know what? I'm just going to throw it at top and bottom. It solves my need and my concern about the pattern that I knew I wanted to use, which is something else I talked about in the PJ Playdate, how I kind of designate a main pattern to each of my projects. And then I go from there and discover what comes to light. But that's really the only kind of initial decision I start with when I'm using a Kiwi Club kit, because regarding like supporting patterns and blenders, it's already done so much in the kit. So I don't feel like I have to analyze all of that. I just need to analyze the background sheet and the main pattern. And then I just let the rest unfold as it comes through the creative process. So because I did that and I do that, I knew I wanted to use this main pattern. And so that's when I was like, I didn't like it on the side. There are sometimes patterns that I'm okay with it being, even though it's one directional pattern, sometimes I'm okay. And you've seen it on my layouts here and there where it could be sideways, but I just didn't like the houses that way. It didn't work. So I reverted to top, bottom. And then I said, well, I have 4 one directional pictures. And then I just filled in the rest as I played to create, because that's the beauty of playing to create. With that said, I do have journaling. I have not yet added to this page. I just printed it off. So I'm going to add that journaling here. My plan is to add it here. I'll get it taken care of. I won't take our time together to do that. But I did add some journaling strips, printed it off. And I have a little QR code as well that I'll probably tuck in somewhere as well. Either there. I always just like to kind of tuck the QR codes in. I usually like to keep them by the journaling so that you notice them. And I'll trim that down to a square. So again, because we talked about photo mats, we talked about mini photos, we talked about QR codes through the events in November, and you can check out all those replays. That's why I wanted to highlight, again, that section in the community for a great resource. So on those topics, so make sure to take a look at those. Even the QR article is there. All right.
And you use the different leaf patterns on the tree, which is really cute.
Yeah, I just, yep. And I pulled that from the PDF. I was really inspired. I think Jennifer did it and Mary did it. And I was just like, oh, I love the changing of the colors kind of design of a tree. I thought that was so cute. And like I said, even the gather ladder, I did take one space off of my ladder because I didn't like it poking down underneath this clean 1/2 inch strip that I chose to extend across the whole bottom, which was something else that was really fun. I actually saw that Shiloh did that. I don't think she did it exactly this way. I can't remember, but it did spark me to say, oh, I wonder what it would look like with 1/2 inch. And then I just liked how it anchored it and gave like kind of a platform for the tree and this birdhouses to sit on top of. So again, these are tweet birdhouses. This is the tree house. I did pull the gather from the ladder from the gather set. I did pull in again the thank you kit here with the little flowers for just a little bit of balance of the colors. I did pull in the corrugated from my scraps and trace those circles out of this birdhouse so that I could balance those as well. And then I even I wanted a button here in the middle of the flowers, so I would balance that here. And I was not quite sure, but I really actually like it. It's almost like as if it's like a little
hole in an
hole.
owl.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hole in the tree. So those were a fun little quick, simple detail. Other than that, I didn't really add any other bling or embellishments or things like that to this layout. And so that's that. All right. This layout, okay, I initially started with the PJ Playdate. For those of you that may have joined me in the PJ Playdate, you saw me kind of rearrange this page like 4 or 5 times. Now, granted, I think at that point it was like going on 10:30, but I was like, I really want, to just, even if I walk away tonight, I want that foundation of this second page. And I think by the end of that PJ Playdate, if you watch the replay, I had said, oh, shoot. I was like, I don't know, the swing is getting lost. I might have to rearrange it again. It's not quite. And then I said, okay, it's time for bed. When you start doing that and I was like, yeah, it's time for bed, guys. Let's just say I came back with a fresh eye. I couldn't do it on Saturday. I was so busy. And then Sunday, David and the kids were playing a game, and I thought, I'm going to go into my scrapbook room and I'm going to finish this page. And it was the perfect way to end my weekend. Let's just say that. I think I got done with this page and I went to everywhere. Look at my page. Look at my page.
Yeah.
So this one was fun. I did add a little bit more detail, but nothing too fancy again here. I did make this little swing.
Which is so cute.
Yeah. And I just had this on the table. I tend to do that when I'm going through a kit. I literally keep everything on my table. It's still on my table, but it is probably going to go back where it belongs since I do have some guests coming this week. So it's time to clean it up. But I just took it and I cut like, say, a 1/2 inch, and then I just cut at this angle, right? I just cut these corners like that, punched a hole. I just punched a little small hole on each side, went up, tied a knot, and then I will say, when you're tying it around the tree, be very careful. You don't want to rip your tree branch off. But I did find that what I would do next, and I mentioned this in the PJ Playday, I know I keep mentioning it, but I do, and this is kind of a recap, is that I would, because you're not quite sure on the length, and initially I had it come down here, which it was on the paper, but I felt like the brown got lost on the brown. But it was late, and my mind was like, I'll come back to it. And it was such an easy solution. I just said, I just need to make it shorter. I just need to make the swing shorter. And then you see how these are kind of gooey. I didn't pull the strings tight. I put some pop up underneath that, and I put it on the page where I wanted to. So these kind of had like a flow, like as if it was swinging in the air.
It kind of follows the curve of the tree, which is lovely, but it does give it a sense that it's in motion in a sort of animated kind of way, which is very fun.
So that was really fun. Here's the tip that I had on this. Because the length is the part that you've got to kind of adjust as you start to make the knots. I find that it would be easier to tie the top and then come down here at the bottom and pull it as you want it and see fit from this tying at the bottom. I feel like I want to make another one with a swing. These pictures were perfect for it. I hope you guys make a swing. It was so enjoyable. And like I said, whether you have corrugated or you just have brown paper or whatever color, and some twine or whatever, again, it just was seriously fun. I had my twine out and I chose to put a bird nest on. We were talking about it. Linda inspired me with that from her grizzly layout. And I've been waiting to do a birdhouse little thing with our birdhouse templates, and then the bird nest. They were on my mind. So I think that's what sparked that idea. As I let the creativity flow, like leaves in the wind, right?
Mm-hmm. Speaking of which.
Yeah.
You got some leaves in the wind on this page in a really
do.
fun way.
Yeah. I had ovals out, but ovals wasn't wide enough for my space because I think tracing with the ovals would be so fun too. We do this technique often with the rings, but it wasn't quite hitting the whole space that I wanted because naturally it's not as wide. So I pulled rings out and I just did the whole tracing technique with the white pin on the background sheet itself. But in this case, I did pull out again some of my classic punches. This guy, oh yeah, it gives me a workout once it gets going, but it was worth it. And so I punched those guys out, put some enamel dots. I picked these color enamel dots up. I don't know if I still have them. Did I put those guys away?
Might have.
Yeah. Those are from Stampin' Up. So I got those from a friend, Stampin' Up. And they were just perfect color. So mini border, mini medicine here. I did choose to put one down. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to put, and I will say initially I was not quite sure how that would play out. I think that's what's fun about changing it up from time to time with the mini borders. They just encourage you to kind of think outside of the box, or at least they do for me. And so I was really experimenting with that. I will say I had to stand up at one point because I was like I needed to see it from the top down to see how it works, but it came together. It came together.
I love the staggered sort
Yeah.
of peekaboo mini borders.
You know why I think it was feeling initially odd to me was because I didn't like the straight edge there. So the solution, once I started saying, why does it feel odd? Why does it feel like right? I'm like, I like it, but something feels off. And then I just put some, I had literally, this is all I had left of this ribbon. So yay, I put it, I got it all to use. It's all gone now. That's a good feeling too. Yeah. It's like bittersweet, but yeah.
Stash in an organic way by using
using what you have.
Which is great.
And so much that like this, I had to cut this. I literally, and you can see I couldn't even go straight to this edge and straight to this edge. And I was like, oh, am I going to have enough? And I had exactly the right left of that strand. And so that's just perfect. It was meant to be. It was meant to be. Okay, I pulled in the bees. I don't know. I think Deborah was talking about, or maybe I pulled in the bee, and then she was talking about how she went to a pumpkin patch, had bees and pumpkins, and it's just something about the childhood and the feeling of it. I was like, it needs a bee. So I pulled out the Bee Sweet bee. After I kind of had my foundation, I naturally put a vellum and just quick little strips. You can see me create those in the PJ Playdate. They came together pretty fast. Oh, and then that's why. Okay. We were looking at this paper and we're like the daisy. And then people were like, what's that do with damn daisy in? So I went to the DT checklist app and then I searched daisy and I saw it in the Bee Sweet. I pulled out the daisy from the Bee Sweet and I was like, I really think that's cute. And then I saw the bee and I was like, oh, I really think I should put a bee on this page. You get the idea. There you go. That's the creative flow and the inspiration. And you just kind of see as it goes. Now, granted, I already had my foundation in place. All these little additions, and that's so powerful just to kind of embrace in the flow state after you get the designing, because what happens when you play to create, and if you are not to the point where you're still like kind of piecing your page together as you go, just try really hard to pull out your templates and build like you see us do in the demos and other things. I know it takes a little bit of reframing and reprogramming even for the most part, but boy, that foundation, it's not permanent. It can be shifted, but what it does is it instantly, one, engages your creativity. But when I say that engage, it's like it pushes you into that flow, right, that we're talking about and that we often talk about here at Kiwi Lane. And what happens from the flow is a lot of playing, exploring, discovering. And that's what happened. It was like, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Like, what if I put that here? But it wasn't, oh, let me put that here and then put this here. And then it was like, my brain was free to just discover instead of my brain being occupied with trying to do it all in the head because you can't see even a baseline of a page, like even a game plan, a foundation of that page. So like I said, I had some sense of pictures and positions, but this one I did kind of start adding little pieces here and there as I was going through the evolution, transformation of this page.
I hesitate to point out you used your handwriting on this page.
Oh, no. I do use my handwriting. I talked about this.
Was it purposeful, or was it
well,
just
because
like
I have
that title card happened?
Yeah, I had the title card, and when I have title cards, I write on my title cards. Mm-hmm. But if I don't, then I tend to also do it. For me, how I always look at them is if I have a place for a title card and it doesn't look too bulky, which in this case, it filled the space beautifully. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, I really like the balance of that. And I liked the cream with the cream tree. So those were things that I was processing. Then, yeah, naturally I'm going to write on it. Right? Mm-hmm. So I thought of what I would say, and then I wrote on it because a title card begs to be written. Don't leave it unwritten. I don't usually do those lives, though, because my brain needs to settle and think for a moment. When that then encouraged me to put a title in the middle of these two pictures, you know what actually encouraged me to think of this space? So again, we're talking about that flow. These pictures, we were talking about, again, photos. We were talking about Canon printers versus, Epsons versus others. And we were talking, the only thing is, this is all during the PJ Flay Day. We had a lot to talk about in the PJ Flay Day. That it doesn't print true 4x6s. So I had these pictures, I printed them off. This was just this last month. So very current pictures, which doesn't always happen, but it happened this month's Kiwi Club kit. And I was excited to scrapbook these. I forgot I had them because I didn't take these pictures. Abby did, and she had them on her phone. And then she texted them to me and was like, Mom, you can use this month's kit with these pictures. So I actually had these pictures planned out to scrapbook with this kit. But then I switched gears and plans because I wanted to scrapbook these pictures. So again, sometimes it happens that way. So in regards to pictures, I wanted these to be offset, see how those are similar, and then these are similar. I did, at one point, I actually started to adhere my page and I forgot, and I put this one up here and I was like, shoot. So I had to pick it up and offset those. It just kept symmetry and flow. So positioning of photos also impacts the flow of your page. So pay attention to that when you start adhering down. I will say, going back to photos, because that seems to be a theme for November, I intentionally looked at my pictures and I chose to do the building and then the after, right? So there was a sense of order in how I put those pictures as well, even down to these pictures. I put the primary pictures, my other favorite picture, and then of course the silly sub pictures, and then the secondary pictures to that. I don't know why this one became one of my favorites. I think I just love it. They are the ones who made me moms. I think that's probably the start of it all. And then I think that's really honestly what was going through my head. Title, not true 4x6s. So then I said, well, I'm going to trim them down to 5x4s, make them a little bit more uniformed that way. So I even trimmed just a little bit more off of them, which created this space. And then my mind said, what am I going to do with that space? What am I going to do with that space? Guys, I love that about the creative process. Ask your brain a question and it will go to work.
Especially in flow state, right?
Yes, especially in flow state. And this is powerful, like super powerful. Listen, here at Kiwi Lane, sometimes I think I have to apologize for all of this, but I just can't express it enough. Like, it's so powerful when you start learning about the flow state and how it operates and your mind works that way. This is why we encourage the play to create, so you can get into the flow state longer and you can stay in it longer. You don't get pulled out when you have to go and measure or do. You can just literally stay in the flow for even 20, 30 minutes. Will be so repairing on your subconscious and your conscious mind. Not just in general, whatever it needs to repair. It's like when you sleep, right? Your mind goes into repair. Well, it also goes into repair when you're in a flow state. And so what I was going to say was that when you give your mind a question, and I think I've shared this before, but it's such a good thing to remember. It literally goes to work. Like it works in the background. It's like, and sometimes I'll give it a question. This is literally my hack for you. What am I going to do with that section? I ask it in a question, and then I move to another part of the layout. Because your brain subconsciously is just going to keep working on it. We've all felt it before, where our mind kind of keeps molding over something, right? And then I was like, oh, I should do a title there. And then it came, I should do a title there. Okay, what title should I do? Right?
Second question.
Yeah. And then I went to the tree and I finished the details and I put the ribbon on, and I didn't sit there overthinking it. I just asked the question and then moved to somewhere else that I can work on. And then I came back. So if you get stuck on a specific spot on your page, don't necessarily feel like you have to force or, or like sacrifice the time and everything. Just move to something else and then come back to it.
But ask the question.
Which
is a
yes.
really great point. I need to do that more.
Yes.
Just on my own creativity.
Ask the question and then trust the process and that the flow, and it will come. Whatever that solution might be. Here's the other thing. Okay. This is going out of the creative world, but you can even ask, like, if you're struggling with something at work or in personal life, a relationship, like those things stress us out. And sometimes when they stress us out, we think we can't be creative, right? So ignore that feeling, okay? When life gets stressful, and it does because it's messy, okay? Those are moments where you really need to get some R&R, creative R&R on the calendar. And then you use those sessions to not only get to the creative flow, but if there's really something weighing on you or doing it, okay, guys, literally take a piece of paper, get it out of your head, write the concern, write in a question, rephrase it in a question if you can. How can I help my son with whatever? Or what is an option at work to help me to, I don't know, right? Whatever it is, you feel the weight of it, acknowledge the weight, and retransform that into a question. And the reason why I'm saying on some of those heavier things, because we don't want to feel the weight the whole time we're in a creative room. We want to escape. I get that. That's the reason why I'm saying to write it on a piece of paper, is because out of mind, not necessarily out of sight, but out of mind for just a season, right? But it's not really actually out of mind. And that's the interesting thing about the ability to get into the creative flow, is because it will be sitting there. You'll go through the thing. And I hope by the end of your session, you have some sense of epiphany, right? Some sense of inspiration. This can be spiritual. It can be instinctual, like something, right? It can be that you remember a circumstance that sparks something else, and it's going to work in the subconscious. It's so powerful. So why we share this, why I share this, is because I guess maybe because it's the month of November, right? The sense of gratitude. And I can just tell you, I'm so grateful for this hobby. I'm grateful that this hobby offers so much to us beyond just the finished pages, beyond the cute papers and the designs and the products that we love. It's so much more than that. And I want to share these things with you because I want you to take advantage of it to its full potential. We often talk about taking paper to its full potential, like the hobby, the creative process, the flow, finding yourself, finding a method, finding rhythms to get into the flow state. It will benefit you way more in the other aspects of your lives, not only in your hobby and the fulfillment you can get from that, but in all areas. Okay, rant is over. Okay. I'm just so grateful. I'm grateful for you guys. I'm grateful for, especially the club members. You guys put so much trust into us every month. And we know that you do. You put a lot of trust and And we really don't take that for granted. And we want to know that, like, we really do appreciate your guys' support. And that continual monthly commitment and that trust is so, just so meaningful to us. And so we thank you so much for being here, for showing up. And we hope that through it all, that you find whatever method, all the things that we have to share, whether it's the PJ Playday on your calendar or following the scrapbooking rhythm and breaking up your phases of the scrapbooking process into little increments so that you can find the time, to the inspirations, the ideas, the formula for paper picking to help you use your stash, whatever it is. Our goal is to help you to do it as blissfully simple as possible and deeply meaningful. And with that is the deepful meaningfulness is to understand what is really happening behind the backgrounds every time that you allow yourself the time, the freedom to play, to create, and to revisit those memories in a meaningful way. And it is so much more than those products are to support it. All of the products are there to support that act of you sitting down and you actually going from start to finish and creating. So we look forward to the next year. It's not there yet, but we really are excited. And like I said, just grateful for you guys. I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. I forgot to mention one thing because it's one of my favorites. I talked about going to work on this title. I let it kind of sit and brainstormed and did a lot of things. And it came up with, I love this title. It says Autumn's Best Seat. And I loved it. It was like perfect. I think that was the last touch that I added to the page, literally the last touch. And I think that's when my heart was just like, oh my gosh, because it really is the best seat when you're swinging and you look up and the trees. I wish I had a picture of that. It's in my mind.
Yeah.
It's like so vivid in my mind. And you just see all the colors. It's like, it really is autumn's best seat. So thanks for making it, babe.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Okay.
I think there was another sort of announcement that you had planned on.
You know what? There is. If you guys haven't checked your email inbox yet, and Gail says it's the best hobby in the world. Exactly. Thanks for saying it for me, Gail. I was trying not to say it.
It's in front of people to have a chance to say it too.
And there's so many reasons why it is. And I'll keep preaching them because we have to remember that. We have to remember that.
Cat's gonna jump up.
Oh, you want to say hi? Oh my goodness. Okay, yes, we sent a special bonus claim offer for you guys to make sure to check that email out. It explains it all. You don't want to miss it. So you'll have to click on your email and get it through your email. And if for some reason you're not getting an email or something, the email support at kiwilane.com. But for the most part, you all should be on the email list as club members. So I don't think I'm worried about that. But if your server, look your spam or something, actually, it's a good time to look at that. If it is going there, you'll want to fix that with your own email provider so that you don't miss those things in the future as well. You could just add the email to your contacts. That usually helps, and or take it out of whatever spam, and it usually helps in any email providers. But point being, my friendly reminder, go check your email. All right. Check your email and keep it posted throughout the week. We will be communicating mostly through email this week on a various few things that we have planned for you guys. All right. And once again, happy Thanksgiving. And I hope you guys enjoy your week. Make memories, take some pictures, and then put your phone down and just live in the moment at the same time. All right. Take care, guys. Appreciate you. Bye.